C'est la tentation pour chacun.
The prevailing of the most powerful, and that is a certain lawlessness where everyone pursues their own interests. This law is one of unilateralism. It is one which leads directly to isolationism and to conflict. Generalized clashes, man against man, everyone pitted against everyone else.
We will never surrender America's sovereignty to an unelected, unaccountable global bureaucracy. America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism.
Qu'est-ce qui réglera?
Now, what will solve the issue of trade imbalances and their consequences for our societies? Common rules, in line with today's realities, ones which guarantee fair competition on equal footing. And in no case, bilateral dealing of our trade disagreements or new protectionisms. That will not work.
That trade must be fair and reciprocal. The United States lost over 3 million manufacturing jobs, nearly a quarter of all steel jobs, and 60,000 factories after China joined the WTO. And we have racked up $13 trillion in trade deficits over the last 2 decades. But those days are over. We will no longer tolerate such abuse. We will not allow our workers to be victimized, our companies to be cheated, and our wealth to be plundered and transferred. America will never apologize for protecting its citizens. As my administration has demonstrated, America will always act in our national interests.
Nous savons que l'Iran était sur la voie du nucléaire militaire. Mais qu'est-ce qui l'a
We
stoppé?
already knew that the situation was degrading, but what stopped that? The Vienna Agreement of 2015. Today, as I said 1 year ago, our task is not to fuel tensions, but rather to put forward a broader agenda which addresses all concerns, nuclear, ballistic, regional ones, caused by Iranian policies, but this through dialogue and multilateralism, being frank as well as exacting.
Every solution to the humanitarian crisis in Syria must also include a strategy to address the brutal regime that has fueled and financed it, the corrupt dictatorship in Iran. Iran's leaders sow chaos, death, and destruction. We ask all nations to isolate Iran's regime.
Face aux grands défis migratoires, je ne crois pas.
Migration flows, I don't believe in the idea of unconditional openness. This simply leads to worry and intolerance. I don't believe either in the fallacious statements made by some in Europe and elsewhere that we would be stronger were we to close our borders. That's not true either. The only real effective way to effectively manage migration flows impacting all of our continents is to create conditions for chosen international mobility to work together. And I mean countries of origin, transit, and destination, so as to address the root causes of migration.
Legal immigration funds, criminal networks, ruthless gangs, and the flow of deadly drugs. Illegal immigration exploits vulnerable populations, hurts hardworking citizens, and has produced a vicious cycle of crime, violence, and poverty. Only by upholding national borders, destroying criminal gangs, can we break this cycle and establish a real foundation for prosperity. We recognize the right of every nation in this room to set its own immigration policy in accordance with its national interests. Migration should not be governed by an international body unaccountable to our own citizens. Ultimately, the only long-term solution to the migration crisis is to help people build more hopeful futures in their home countries. Make their countries great again.
Qu'est-ce qui permettra de régler la crise?
What can resolve the crisis between Israel and Palestine? Well, surely not unilateral initiatives, nor trampling upon the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people to legitimate peace, nor underestimating Israelis' fair right to security. There is no credible alternative to the two-state solution, living side by side in peace and security with Jerusalem as capital.
This year, we also took another significant step forward in the Middle East in recognition of every sovereign state to determine its own capital. I moved the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. The United States is committed to a future of peace and stability in the region, including peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. That aim is advanced, not harmed, by acknowledging the obvious facts. America's policy of principled realism means we will not be held hostage to old dogmas, discredited ideologies, and so-called experts who have been proven wrong over the years, time and time again. This is true not only in matters of peace, but in matters of prosperity.